Well done. Thank you.
Welcome everyone to the council meeting of Wednesday the 4th of August. Tonight's council meeting is a virtual meeting through Zoom and will be streamed live through our YouTube channel. Councillors, I'd like you all to have your microphones muted until you are ready to speak. If you wish to address the meeting, you need to raise your hands or use the raised hand function through the Zoom meeting, and I will acknowledge the councillor who wishes to speak, and then you can unmute yourself and begin to speak. Under the Local Government Act of 2020, if technical problems are encountered by council, the meeting will be adjourned until resolution can be obtained, or the meeting will be postponed. The requirement is that all councillors can see each other. So I need each councillor to confirm that you can see all the other councillors and hear the proceedings. Councillor Firth.
Yes, I'm here. The only thing I can't work out, Mr. Mayor, is whether or not who's actually at the Benalla Rural City Council. I can see the 5 on Zoom perfectly well, but I can't see who is actually in the council chamber.
Okay, there's Mr. Gasparini.
What about now? Is that clearer?
Is that clearer?
Robert?
Yes, Robert, Mr. Testoni and myself.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Hearn.
Yes, I can see everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Ganaratne.
I can see and hear everyone. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor King.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I can hear and see everybody.
Councillor O'Brien.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I can hear and see everybody also. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. We acknowledge the traditional custodians of this land and pay respect to their elders and the elders from other communities who may be here today. We also acknowledge all other people who have contributed to the rich diversity of this country. Now, during this meeting, I won't expect councillors to stand, and I don't expect to stand for the statement of commitment, which I'll read. I declare, as a councillor of Benalla Rural City, I will undertake on every occasion to carry out my duties in the best interests of the community, and that my conduct shall maintain the standards of our councillor code of conduct, so I may faithfully represent and uphold the trust placed in the council by the people of Benalla and district. I'd like each councillor please to confirm their commitment by just saying I confirm my commitment, starting with Councillor Firth.
I confirm my commitment.
Councillor Hearn.
I confirm my commitment.
Councillor Ganaratne.
I confirm my commitment.
Councillor King.
I confirm my commitment.
And Councillor O'Brien.
I confirm my commitment.
Thank you very much. I remind everyone of the governance matters that we're the council meeting, as I've said before, is recorded, and everyone's behaviour is expected to be exemplary, even though we are virtual. If there's the disclosure of a conflict of interest, that needs to be noted now, and that person will have to virtually leave the room until the item has been discussed. So does anyone have a conflict of interest in any of the agenda items? Okay. Apologies.
Councillor Davis.
Someone like to move that Councillor Davis's apology be accepted? Councillor O'Brien and Councillor King. Thank you. Confirmation of the minutes of the previous meeting. The recommendation is the minutes of the council meeting held on Wednesday, the 23rd of June 21 be confirmed as a true and accurate record of the meetings. Would someone like to move that motion? Councillor O'Brien and Councillor King again. Thank you. Question time? No. Got Councillor O'Brien and Councillor King. No.
No.
Questions?
Nope.
No petitions?
Nope.
Agenda item number 8, record of committees. Recommendation is the report be noted, and that is on page 9 of your agenda. Would someone like to move that recommendation? Councillor King, a seconder.
Councillor Chair, before it moves, I was raising my hand. I wonder whether you noted.
Yellow hand. Oh, I'm sorry. I was looking for your real hand, not your virtual hand.
Okay.
I'll keep an eye out for it. Thank you.
I think there need to be a correction to the report, Chair. I noted the last page number 6 of the report, Assembly of Councillors, which took place on 16th of June. It lists the participants. There was another participant which is missing. There was Mr. Michael Smith attended the meeting from Sun Cinemas and Spectre Cinema Services of Yarraville. To that meeting, I think it should be mentioned on that list. And also the matters discussed was the Benalla Community Cinema proposal prepared by Mr. Michael Smith. That need to be corrected. Added to that report, page number 6.
Does the speaker need to be noted in the?
Generally, we don't know.
No, generally a guest speaker wouldn't be noted as a, as in a, or maybe it should be noted as being in attendance, I suppose, but not nothing else. So we can amend that to add Michael Smith was in attendance. For that, should we be happy with that, Councillor Venerato?
Yeah, I think that makes a clear indication of the meeting. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, with that amendment, would someone move that recommendation, please? Councillor King. Councillor Hearn, seconded. Thank you. All those in favour? Reports by officers.
Nil for 9.1.
Authorisation and signing and sealing of documents.
Nil.
Item 9.2, council meeting postponements. Mr. Testoni.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillors, I will take the report largely as read. Obviously, due to the most recent lockdowns, there were some restrictions obviously placed right on throughout Victoria, which obviously did have a material impact on how we had planned to run a couple of meetings. We did choose to cancel a couple of meetings and postpone due to the number of committee members or community members that we had expected to come and talk at the Planning and Development Committee meeting. I'm happy to take any questions, Mr. Mayor. Otherwise, the recommendation is at the bottom of page 13.
Are there any questions of Mr. Testoni? Councillor Venerato.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to know what was the technological limitation that we had and how many speakers were we expecting to present? Thank you.
Thank you. Through the chair, obviously we hadn't had the number of speakers confirmed, but given that there were quite a few the last time the matter came forward, we had anticipated a number of speakers to present both for and against the particular matter that was listed to be discussed on that evening. The meeting was planned to be held at BPAC, and we don't have the same level of technology available down there as what we do have here, obviously in the council chamber. Hence the reason why we decided to postpone the meeting. And obviously, if we would have gone through with a virtual meeting and we did have technical difficulties, the meeting would have had to have been suspended. So it was far safer just to postpone the matter until the next available opportunity.
Any other questions of Mr Sestani? If not, the recommendation is on the bottom of page 13. The mover, Councillor King, seconder, Councillor Generatne. Would you like to speak, Councillor King?
Just to say, I think that this is a very good decision by the council, by the CEO to delay this until such time as that members of the public do have that opportunity to come and have their say. I just think that this is demonstrating very good governance on behalf of the council. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Generatne, would you like to speak?
No, thank you, Chair.
Would anyone else like to speak? All those in favour? That's carried. Thank you. 9.3, building and planning approvals, May and June 2021. Who's going to take that, Mr. Barber?
Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The report is our monthly report on our building and planning approvals, which covers 2 months for May and June 2021. I will take the report as read, but I will bring to council's attention, obviously this is a report as at 30 June, bringing to an end the financial year. And I just thought I'd recap on what's actually happened for the whole financial year, just in regard to our building and planning approvals. Planning approvals are determined by council, and this is by officers and by the Big Smart and by the council itself. Has been 253 for the financial year, which averages about 21 per month. Over the financial year, there's been 371 building permits that have been issued, and approximately 40 a month. That's by council and by private building surveyors, to a total of some $49,011,000. So it's been at an average of $4 million a month. So it's been a very large month a year for planning and building. So as we have anecdotally felt that Benalla is growing, this is a clear reflection in what's happening across Benalla Rural City. Just in regard to some matters before VCAT on page 19 of the report, just a very quick update there. The mining proposal at 223 Cooper Road, Devonish, that actually kicked off today, the hearing on the 4th of August. What's happened there is that the VCAT has asked that the 2 referral authorities from the state government be given 21 days to respond to the proposal. They didn't lodge any proposals to the VCAT hearing, so the VCAT have asked that they consider that, and they give them 21 days to put those up, so that's been deferred. And just in relation to the construction of a 7-lot subdivision at Cowan Street, that hearing was conducted on the 26th and the 27th of July. All parties have had their chance to present, and that matter is now being considered by VCAT. So hopefully that an answer to that one shouldn't be too far away. And as we know, the Molayula one is scheduled to be heard in late or in September. Just for council's information, the building and works as well as the use permit will all be heard together by VCAT. So that's coming up. But that matter will be brought before council at the next Planning and Development Committee. Apart from that, Mr. Chair, happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions of Mr. Barber? No? Councillor Generatne.
Thank you, Chair. I would like, Mr. Bobby, if you could explain the Odyssey House application. What's the status of that and the status of the current planning application as well? Linked to that, were there any hearings or any updates on that? Thank you.
No, Mr. Chair, as reported, that's up for hearing at the 27th, 28th, 29th of September. There was a mediation that was called for, but parties couldn't get together to conduct that mediation, so that didn't happen. The practice hearing was conducted as in accordance, but the main part will be the hearing, which is 27, 28, 29 of September.
Does that answer your question, Councillor Generatne?
Yes, Chair, I'm concerned about the number of days for the planning application. I would like a clarification. Would we exceed the number of days for the planning applications, which is in consideration at the moment?
We have exceeded the number of days for the planning application, so that has been why the use of the facility has been referred to VCAT. So that's why the VCAT will be hearing both the planning, or sorry, both the use and also the building and works applications at the same time. At our next planning development committee meeting, there'll be the opportunity for councillors to make any recommendations they like to VCAT in regard to what can happen. If we'd like conditions put on those planning permits, we'll have the chance to put those to the planning development committee in 3 weeks' time.
Thank you. Are there any other questions?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mr. Barber.
If there's no other questions, the recommendation is on the bottom of page 26 that the report be noted. Mover, Councillor Ganaratne and Councillor O'Brien. Would you like to speak, Councillor Ganaratne?
No, thank you, Chair.
Councillor O'Brien?
No, thank you, Chair.
Would anyone else like to speak? All those in favour? Against? That's carried. 9.4, Community Sponsorship Program. Mr. Barber again.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As per the report, there are 3 applications for this month's allocations, and it is recommended that the 3 applicants all receive $500 each. Happy to take any questions, Mr. Chair.
Are there any questions on that from councillors? If not, the recommendation is on the bottom of page 28. That $500 grants from 2021 to 2022 Community Sponsorship Program be allocated to the RSL, Rotary Club of Benalla and Live for Life Benalla Crew. Move, Councillor O'Brien. Seconded, Councillor King. Would you like to speak, Councillor O'Brien?
Oh, yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to say that it's great to continue to see different groups, a variety of groups in Benalla requesting the community funds. It means that the message is getting out to the community of the availability. So well done. It's great. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor O'Brien. Councillor King, would you like to speak?
Just to echo those words of Councillor O'Brien.
Would anyone else like to speak? All those in favour? That's carried. Thank you. 9.5, the 2021 Local Government Community Satisfaction Survey. Mr. Barber again.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. The report tonight presents our annual results of the Local Government Community Satisfaction Survey. As there are a lot of numbers and things involved, I'll take the report as read, but I will highlight a couple of things from the report, in particular on page 30, which provides a summary of the core measures. These core measures are the ones that are actually measured by all participating councils. There's no choice in this that you have to have these particular items measured. So the 66 councils across Victoria have had these. Just to highlight a couple of the results from them, please note that our overall performance has increased from 57 to 61 over the past 12 months. That takes us back to where we were in 2019, which was our higher ever result. So that was pleasing to see. We've also had a couple of increases in regard to making community decisions. Sealed local roads and overall direction of council have also increased. In regard to the decrease, our community consultation and engagement has decreased from a 55 in 2020 to a 52 in 2021, which is a fair lower than what our small rural shires are. Our counterparts had a 56 rating. So that's an area that we will have to devote some energy to. Just in regard to some other items in the report, on page 31, for the first time, respondents were asked about what value for money in the services and infrastructure the councils provide. As per the graph on page 31, Benalla in comparison to our small rural counterparts is very similar. We scored a value for money of 55, which is a little bit above other small rural shires who scored a 52. So that table or the graph on page 31 just goes into a little bit more detail about where people scored on the value for money. In addition to the core measurements, we also have our responsible areas that we go through and also ask questions about every second year. As can be seen from that, just highlighting a couple of differences. We've gone down our elderly support services. Tourism development's gone down from 65 to 60. That can be probably put down to some COVID restrictions we've had there. Family support services had a fair decrease, but they had a very good result of 70 in 2019. But it's gone back to 64, which is more in line with previous results. And also slashing and weed control has decreased from 57 in 2019 to 51 in 2021. The table on page 33 provides some areas for focus on what we can concentrate on the next 12 months. A couple of those there are our consultation and engagement, which we've identified, local streets and footpaths, and tourism development and COVID-19 response. So a couple of other areas we could concentrate on. And just finally, we also have our tailored questions where we ask respondents to give their perceptions on our performance in regard to some key areas. Providing libraries, which has decreased from 84 in 2019 to 80 in 2021, which once again is probably a reflection of the library being closed for a fair amount of time due to COVID restrictions. Same with providing art centres, with the art gallery closed for a time. Tourism promotion has been difficult, obviously, over the past 12 months. Community development has stayed very similar, as has economic development, and providing youth services and activities has also stayed, just increased a little bit. Mr. Chair, a summary of the whole report is attached as Appendix 1. The report itself will be put onto our website for the community to have a look at. And as per the resolution on page 35, that the findings of the community satisfaction survey will also be used to help develop our council plan, which will be presented to the council soon. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Are there any questions of Mr. Barber? Councillor Ganarotne.
Thank you, Chair. Looking at the report, it's first a comment. It's good to note some areas have improved. My main concern is the community consultation and engagement. We have dropped 3 points from 2020, from 55 to 52. And we are also behind other small rural councils. And I think we have been getting alarms from the community as well regarding this. And it was an important time because we are engaging in the community plan and the council plan. So what areas do you think, Mr. Barber, that we can improve further in this? Have you done any further studies or dig into these details to identify what areas people have answered in?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, just to take note, this was actually done in February, this survey, so it was before we started our community plan consultation. So I would think that given the level of community engagement we've started on those processes, that will be expected to have an increase in our result next year. We're also, as part of that process, we did adopt our community engagement policy, which council was asked to be redeveloped or re-looked at over the 6 months while we develop our council plan. So I would hope that as we ask questions in regard to our community engagement, that when that's presented to council later in the year, that we'll have some answers on what people are looking for in regard to their engagement. And that will be reflected in the new policy, plus the updated community engagement toolkit that we plan to bring to council as well.
Are there any other questions of Mr. Barber? Yes.
Mr. Mayor, I've got my virtual hand up. I've had it up for quite some time. Do you want us to bother with that or just wait for the hands?
Wave your hand. I think we'll definitely see that.
Okay. Yeah, Mr. Barber, with regards to what we can learn from these the figures, I know we have to do it, but given that we've actually gone up 3 points since 2019 on recreational facilities, and most of the recreational facilities for that time of the survey, we were in lockdown. The question is, are you kind of dissecting with that in mind, the fact that there was so much disruption in 2020, when basically where people were making their minds up about this survey? It was done in February, I believe. Are we gleaning anything out of that fact?
Through you, Mr. Chair, with this survey, I think the most valuable part of it is to look at the trends rather than each year in isolation, because I think COVID or something can put a spanner in the works in regard to results and have an impact on it. So I think that you get more information from actually looking at over the past 4 or 5 years, as detailed in the report there. And that gives a true reflection, I think, on what the community thinks in regards to certain matters. So rather than just react to 1 year's survey, good or bad, I think it's important to look at the overall trend for the past 4 or 5 years. But no doubt some of them
Thank you, Mr.
have been impacted by COVID-19.
Are there any other questions of Mr. Barber? If not, the recommendation is on page 35 that the report be noted and the findings of the 2021 local government community satisfaction survey be used to inform the development of the council plan of 21 to 25. We have a mover, Councillor King, Councillor O'Brien. Would you like to speak, Councillor King?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Only to, I guess, talk through the process around the this document, and I certainly take these reports as a good means for the council to understand what the community are talking about, and to take stock on what it is that the council can be doing better or more of. These are a good opportunity to take some reflection on what the council's doing. I take on board some of the comments made around community consultation, and I certainly think there's some opportunities for us to look at that in more detail, and certainly engage with the community around what their expectations are of council in the space of community consultation. I know there's been quite a lot of talk about this in recent weeks and recent months around consultation, and I'd certainly like to consider what this council can do in the future around holding a community workshop to explore ideas from the community around what that consultation could look like going forward. I think that would be a positive exercise and something that can help us to look at that target of consultation at the next survey we do to look at improvement. There's, again, some work that we can do in that space, and I'm certainly happy as a councillor to work with my fellow councillors and the council staff to do that. But overall, I'm pleased to see that the council is moving in a favourable direction, and to acknowledge the CEO and his team in being a big part of that, but also this council, but also acknowledge the previous council, because a lot of the work they've done is captured in these numbers too. So I think it's a good benchmark for this council to go forward with, and I'm looking forward to playing an active role in that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor King. Councillor O'Brien, would you like to speak?
Oh, yes, briefly, Mr. Chair, thank you. I just wanted to just make a note that I found that it was quite interesting that rural and urban area residents rate the council's overall performance in a similar way. I thought that was really great that the rural communities, which sometimes seem to feel or give the impression that we've forgotten them a little bit, are feeling they've been included in this. They've rated us the same way. So I think that was really great, that obviously something's happening there. And just another thing, I think COVID probably has put a spanner in the works for everything, but the fact that it has highlighted the fact that we need to be working on our community engagement and tourism, and also I think we need to be aware of the young people recreational facilities. The lowest score we got was that with people answering that question were in the 18 to 34 year age bracket. So really making us more aware of the needs of our younger members of the community. But other than that, I think it's great that we've had those points highlighted, and that we take them on board and we can work towards changing a few things in a positive way. So thank you. Well done.
Thank you, Councillor O'Brien. Would anyone else like to speak? Councillor Generatney.
Thank you, Chair. Adding to what Councillor King said, absolutely, yes, there are areas we can improve in terms of deliberative engagement and new IAP2 principles. And as Mr. Barber mentioned, we are reviewing our community engagement policy. So by 31st October, I think we are planning to review and adapt the policy. So I'm looking forward to have a simple and easy policy, which our community can easily understand. And looking at other two areas that we need to improve local streets and footpaths and seal the local roads. So we have been hearing this quite a lot throughout the community engagement process for the council plan. I'm seeing some silver lining in the cloud with the next agenda item, some money coming into it. So which is good. And that's definitely an area to look forward or to improve in the future with Pathways to the Future project, which is directly linked to the local streets and footpaths and other areas in the seal roads. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Generatney. Would anyone else like to speak? Not. All those in favour? Against? It's carried. 9.6 Capital Works Program for 2021-2022 budget. Mr. Gasparani.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The report presents for consideration amendments to the Capital Works Program for 21-22. Back on the 23rd of June 2021, Council adopted the 21-22 budget at its meeting. The budget included a $13,389,000 capital works budget, including $1.019 million of drainage works funded by the phase 2 of the Australian Government's local road and community infrastructure program. Subsequent to the adoption of the budget, a review of the capital works program identified the following non-drainage projects that could be funded from the LRCI program this current financial year, including the public playground renewal program, about $170,000, council contribution to the walking track from Benalla to the Benalla Racecourse, $65,000, and council contribution to the Benalla Equestrian Centre fencing project to an amount of $30,000. The LRCI program funded drainage projects totaling $754,000 would remain in the budget. Furthermore, a recent review of the Assets and Infrastructure Department identified a need for additional office accommodation at the Gilly Street Benalla Depot. Increased office space will allow for the majority of the Assets Infrastructure staff to be located at the one location rather than spread over the 4 sites, as is the current case. The cost of these works is estimated to be $40,000. It is proposed that the $40,000 required to increase the office accommodation at the Gilly Street Depot would be funded by savings identified in other capital works projects during the year. A list of the proposed local road and community infrastructure fund phase 2 projects is listed on 38, and I'll go over them again. Increasing the capacity of the Cohen Street Basin to enable further housing development in the west of Benalla, $300,000. Drainage works in Benalla East, $254,000. Curb and channel renewal, $200,000. Public playground renewal program, $170,000. Council contribution to the walking track, $65,000, and then council contribution to the Equestrian Centre fencing project of $30,000. The Australian Government have also recently advised Council that we will receive a further just over $1.95 million under the phase 3 of the LRCI program. Projects funded in this program will be able to be commenced by the 1st of January in 2022 and need to be completed by the 30th of June 2023. Some initial projects to be considered by council under phase 3 of the LICA program could include the delivery of projects identified by the Pathways to the Future strategy, heating and cooling upgrades at the Benalla Town Hall, more rural township projects, an upgrade of the existing Lake Benalla boardwalk, and stage 2 of the Falkland Drive Benalla roadworks. The recommendation I take as read is on page 39. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions of Mr. Gasparoni? Councillor Firth?
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor. Just Adrian, with regards to stage 2 Faulkner Drive, I wasn't aware that Faulkner Drive was going to be stage 1, stage 2. Could you give us some kind of an update on where we are exactly with the Faulkner Drive resealing project?
I wasn't aware of what he. Yep, thanks.
Maybe the CEO could answer that. Thank you, Councillor Firth.
Thanks, just through the Mayor. Just with regard to that, Councillor Firth, the first lot of money that we had targeted for Faulkner Drive would probably, from memory, it was about $350,000, and it would largely concentrate directly out front of the senior citizens. I remember the name of the streets now. Nunn Street back to, I think it's Carrier Street. That section there. There's some drainage work that has to be done there as well. So what we're calling stage 2 will essentially go back from Carrier Street right back to, I've forgotten the name of that street now. Right back to Costa Street.
Costa Street.
Yeah, so what we're doing is taking the opportunity to do all of Faulkner Drive, all within sort of a 12-month period if we can, rather than only having enough money to do this and then waiting several years to do the other part as well. So the preliminary work has been done, the road investigation work, they've done all of the pavement testing. We know what work has to be done, but there's also some additional drainage work from behind the shops in Faulkner Drive, and we're trying to put a new drain in there to obviously drain off behind the senior citizens. So it's unfortunately, to do the whole project, it would be up around that $500,000–600,000 mark. So we're calling it stage 1 and stage 2 purely because of the money that's been allocated to it.
Okay, can I have a follow-up question, please, Mr. Mayor?
Certainly.
So what is the anticipated start time? Are we talking now January 2022?
I'll pass that one back to Adrian because stage 1 work is almost ready to tender.
Thanks, Dom. Through the chair, if I can, Councillor Firth. Yes, what Dominic has said is we're just finalising the details now. So we've had all the pavement investigation finalised, and we're just finalising the drainage details. So we're just about to go out to tender now. Taking that into consideration, we'd probably be in a position to have a report come to council, I would suggest, in October, November, and hopefully have work started soon after.
Thank you.
Your question, Councillor?
Yes, thanks, Mr. Mayor.
You, Councillor Generatno, did you have a question? Oh, sorry, Councillor Hearn.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to ask Adrian, the phase 2, will the finish date on that be June 30 next year? Or what finish date do you have for the projects?
Sorry, through the chair, if I can, sorry.
You know that?
I think it is June 30, isn't it?
Yeah, it's. I might just sort of answer that one, Councillor. If the council actually signs off on what we're proposing, we can obviously jump into the investigation on that. And then the funds on phase 3 become available in January. And as Adrian mentioned before, if works can commence on phase 1 and take place during the summer months, we may be in a position to quickly go straight into stage 2 because the funds are available early next calendar year. So it is a project that we could essentially deliver as one, but over two funding streams.
Follow-up question, Councillor Hearn.
I'm sorry, you've misunderstood me. The Local Roads and Community Infrastructure Fund Phase 2. When's your completion date for that, please?
We'll get to
That
that
is-
bit.
My understanding was it was June 30
No,
next
it's
year.
actually December, but we can actually push it out.
December this year. Sorry, Councillor Hearn. It actually is December this year, at the end of this year. But we have been told, we have been advised that we can push it out as long as we are showing some commitment to some projects. So if we've got projects out there that we have been able to finalise and get out to tender, that will certainly show some commitment on our behalf.
Thank you.
Councillor Generatne.
Thank you, Chair. I have a few questions. The first question is around the council contribution to the walking track from the race course to the CBD. What's the length of that walking track? And would this money suffice to meet that, or any other parties contributing to that? Thank you.
If I may, through the chair, the total length, Councillor Generatne, is about 1.4 kilometres. We have started discussions with both the race club and Raise the Roof, so there is some conversations around contributions from them. So once we've finalised the detail, we'll be able to sit down with them and discuss what contribution they'll be willing to make. At this stage, we believe that we'll be in a very strong position to, at the very least, supply a gravel path from the Benalla Racecourse to Benalla, or vice versa, excuse me, with other contributions potentially coming from the race club. We've also approached the Department of Transport, who are also interested in this project. However, at this stage, they haven't made any commitment.
Thank you, Mr. Gasparoni. I have a few questions here, if you don't mind. The second question is around the raise the roof, the fencing project for $30,000 contribution from the council. It's good to see it's one of the budget submissions I can remember from the last budget, the community engagement part. With that, actually, there were other budget submissions suggested for improvements for the airport and the migrant camp. What was the mechanism to choose this particular project, and did you consider other projects that were proposed in the budget submissions as well, and why didn't they get any opportunity? Thank you.
Minimal knowledge, I'll probably have to hand that over to you.
The CEO will answer that for you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for the question, Councillor. The main reason we're recommending to go forward with this particular project is because the committee at the Equestrian Centre are actually putting forward half the money as well. And they are prepared to actually deliver the project for us. The other submissions, particularly around the migrant camp, as you're aware, Councillor, we've actually submitted an application for funding of projects out there. So I think it would be prudent for us to wait on the outcome of that particular submission before we commit to doing any further work out there or committing any council funds. And I believe that I think that is actually being assessed in the next couple of months.
Are there any other questions?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, and thank you, Mr. Testoni. I have one more question. I'm talking about the pathways to the future project and prioritizing that project work for the next phase of the grant. I understand this project report had been there since 2017, and there were a lot of milestones that we had to complete. Have you reviewed the report? Are there any milestones that you have identified as priorities to complete in the next phase of the grant? Thank you.
Through the chair. Councillor, yes, I have a review. We haven't come up with any recommendations at this stage, but that's certainly something that we are we'll certainly be talking to you, Councillor, about our recommendation, which will be in line with those milestones and that recommendation from the report.
Thank you. And around the public playground renewal program for 170,000, are there any identified projects for that? Are there any money going to rural townships from that? Thank you.
If I can, through the chair, yeah, there will be a combination. We haven't finalised the list now, but we are looking at not only doing some work within the Benalla city area, the urban area, we're also looking at reaching out to some of our rural townships as well.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Councillor Hearn?
Just before you go into the recommendation, Chair, item 3 needs an extra 0 put on it. It says that the, yeah,
Yes.
I just want another one.
Thank you, Councillor Hearn. We will add that extra 0.
And Mr. Chair, could I also ask in the recommendation that in item number 2, just for clarification's sake, that the word budget be deleted from the motion that's put up to avoid confusion with the actual budget. So just to read that the capital works program 2021-2022 be amended to reflect.
Thank you. With those couple of amendments, budget deleted and item number 3 reading $40,000. Would someone like to move that? Councillor Hearn. Seconder, Councillor O'Brien. Would you like to speak, Councillor Hearn?
I would love to speak. I think this is fantastic. I'm so happy for the fact that the fence will be erected around the equestrian centre and down past the racecourse too, because it's a very, it could be a very dangerous incident happen there with the fence that's there at the moment. It's only a few strands of wire. Horses really have no idea what they're doing, and being such a busy road, it'll be wonderful to see it fenced properly. The walking track, another OH&S problem too, I believe. I'm glad we're getting that. Too many times after big race meetings, we see people walking on the main road in a not very sober state. And the playgrounds in the area, including the rural areas, is very exciting. I'm sure everyone's excited about that. There's some old equipment that would love to have a facelift around. And the curb and channel and drainage, it's boring, but brilliant. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Hearn. Councillor O'Brien, would you like to speak?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Really just to say that there's a really good, I feel that this is a really good variety of projects that have been being targeted for this extra money that we've been lucky enough to be given. So no, it's great, and it's all looking at improving tourism, improving things for younger families with the playground equipment and the tourism, the equestrian centre update and the walking track. So no, well done. It's good.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak? Councillor Generate.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to yes, add to the following speakers, and yes, it's good work and good to see the money allocated for important projects like this. Especially it's good to see pathways to the future strategy back on track and being evaluated and reviewed and money allocated to complete that, because that is a very important project for our council area. And I would like to see some money going into the rural township. So it's good that it's mentioned in the next phase that there will be money going into rural townships from this LRCI grants. And also I would like to see some playgrounds going into areas where there are no playgrounds, or there are nothing for areas like Badigini and all other small rural townships. So it's good. And good to see the money being spent on the areas that are important. And also talking about the walking track, on 21st of June this year, we received an email from Clare Hall with 170 signatures from community members requesting this. And I understand there was a technical problem with the petition that they submitted, but that's the people who put their hands up, and then 170 people who signed that petition also can be happy because that work will be done very soon. So thank you, Chair. It's good work.
Thank you, Councillor Generato. Would anyone else like to speak? Councillor King.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Only really briefly, just to touch on $300,000 that's going towards increasing the capacity at the Cowan Street Basin. I think, as we all know, Benalla is growing. We've got developments happening right across the electorate, and it's great to see that this council's taking a forward planned approach in wanting to support future development and future growth. And by spending the money in this space, we are doing just that. So I think that's going to be a real benefit for our community. So yeah, great work.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak? All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. 9.7, Mayor and Councillor attendance at committees and civic functions. Does anyone have any amendments to those, their attendance? Councillor King.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just on the 15th of June, Tanya Maxwell, MP member for Northern Victoria, I was unable to attend that meeting. And on the 29th of June, the visit by the Governor, I was also unable to attend that one too.
You, Councillor Generato.
Thank you, Chair. I also was unable to attend the Tanya meeting with MP Tanya Maxwell. Thank you, Chair.
Does anyone else? Yes, Councillor O'Brien.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I also was unable to attend the meeting with Tanya Maxwell MP on June 15th. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Burt.
Yes, 15th of June, I was not present at the Tanya Maxwell meeting. And on the 5th of July, I was not in attendance at the NAIDOC flag raising ceremony.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any alterations? If not, the recommendation is on page 44. The report be noted. Moved Councillor Hearn, seconded King. Would you like to speak, Councillor Hearn?
No, thanks, Mr. Chair.
Councillor King. Anyone else like to speak? All those in favour? That's carried. Thank you. 9.8, council actions pending. They're all yes, we'll take that as read. They're all completed, I think.
Oh, it's a couple still in progress.
Are there any questions on that? If not, the recommendation is on page 45 that the report be noted. Moved Councillor O'Brien, seconded Councillor Hearn. Sorry, did you have a question, Councillor O'Brien, or was it?
Yeah, sorry, I did have a question, Mr. Chair. My question is that okay to go ahead with that? With my question?
Yep.
Yep, great, thank you. Just on action number 6, council meeting 14th of April, the council to declare a climate emergency. I can see that it's ongoing. I just wondered where we are up to with that particular action, please.
Thank you. Just through the mayor, thanks, Councillor. Our new manager of economic development and sustainability started last Monday. So I'll let him get his feet under the desk for 2 weeks before I hit him with this one. And we are about to start the recruitment process for the new sustainability officer as well. So soon we'll work with the new manager, Adam Sadler, on bringing that back to the council for a discussion.
Thank you.
Was there another question, Councillor Generatne?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mr. Testoni. My question was around that too. When I asked about it last time, expected time for the discussion was mid-August, which would be the next planning meeting. Are we on track with that plan still? Thank you.
Thank you. Just through the Mayor, I won't commit at this stage, but if it's not in August, it will definitely be in September.
Are there any other questions? If not, we'll go back and start again. Would someone like to move that motion that the report be noted? Councillor Hearn, Councillor Generatne, second. Would you like to speak, Councillor Hearn? Councillor Generatne, would you like to speak?
No, thank you, Chair.
Would anyone else like to speak? All those in favour? That's carried. Thank you. Agenda item number 10, reports by councillors. Do any of the councillors have a report they'd like to give, please? That looks like no. Okay. Councillor O'Brien.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. No, just very, I won't be very long. Yesterday, I did a Zoom meeting with the Health and Wellbeing Group yesterday afternoon, and I just thought it was interesting. Luke Falzon, who is new Director of Student Services or something or other within TAFE, I did actually ask him directly. I didn't want to put him on the spot, but I did ask him about their involvement in Benalla. And he said, you know, it's a little bit like we all know, if TAFE doesn't have the number of students enrolled, then they don't run the programs. But I know this question came about because they were talking about open houses, that they open campuses that they were going to have both at Wangaratta and Shepparton, and Benalla wasn't listed as having an open house to let anybody know what subjects they might be teaching there. Anyway, everybody can obviously do things virtually, but it's much better to be able to see things and ask people directly. But one of the things that I did suggest to them to consider is if they're not running a program in Benalla, because transport's such an issue for our students here, that the student support services may consider some kind of carpooling or shuttle service or something. So anyway, I've just kind of put it out there. It was his first day on the job, the poor guy. So I felt a bit bad about that. And then the other thing that was mentioned was Headspace, which is located in Wangaratta. This was the office from there speaking. They're actually getting a lot of presentations from young people with mental health issues in Wang. They're preferring to go up rather than to Benalla. She wasn't too sure why that was happening. But interestingly, I felt the three main reasons that people are presenting are disordered eating problems, family violence, and alcohol use. So I think that's something to take on board. And there was something else from somebody else. No, okay, that's all. Oh, Tomorrow Today is starting a great new program for youth in the 11 to 19 age group. So really trying to capture that group within our community. So there's just so many great things happening with that particular group. I just wanted to bring people up to speed on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor O'Brien. Does anyone else have a report? Councillor King.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I did have my hand up before, so I'm glad Councillor O'Brien jumped in there. I just wanted to provide Council with a very brief update with regards to the ARTC Benalla Working Group Committee that myself and Councillor O'Brien sit on. We attended a recent meeting on the 12th of July, which was warmly welcomed with regards to the progression of the committee and the work that's been happening around the two options and the concept plans that are currently in development. So prior to the 12th of July, there was a meeting held on the 17th of June where representatives from ARTC and Inland Rail presented to the committee two options for consideration. The first option being the track realignment and the second the keeping of the current overpass with obviously extensions and alterations made. So the committee is progressing quite well at this stage in working through those concept plans. There'll be hopefully at the next meeting some revised plans which will be presented, and as we work through that, getting closer to seeing the final proposal adopted and put out for community consultation and engagement. And then obviously that will present itself to council, I'm sure, in the months to come. The Inland Rail and ARTC group are putting out their local project reference guide. It may already be out, but that was also presented on the 12th of July for the committee's discussion, and quite a lot of information in there that the community can take away just around this process, but also around the work that Inland Rail and ARTC are doing. So very confident in the way the committee is working, and we'll be pleased to see the final concept plan finalised and put out to community consultation. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor King. Does anyone else have a report? If not, would someone like to move the recommendation that the reports be noted? Councillor Ganaratne, seconded Councillor O'Brien. All those in favour? That's carried. Agenda item 11, notices of motion. Nope. Notices of rescission motion. Nope. Urgent business. Nope. Okay, confidential business. There's a recommendation that the meeting be closed to the public for the consideration of the confidential business items noted above pursuant to sections 3 and section 66A of the Local Government Act of 2020. Would someone like to move that, please? Councillor Hearn and Councillor King. All those in favour? Thank you, that's carried. Do we have the technology?